What comes to your mind when you hear the words mythical creature? Some of you may have thought of fire-breathing dragons, others of the one-eyed cyclops from Greek legends, and some may have thought about the magical unicorn. This latter creature, while seeming very tame in appearance compared to the other two, is still bizarre. I mean, a horse with a giant horn sticking out of its head? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't see many of those around today, do you? Well, certainly not today you wouldn't, but go back over 30,000 years and you would have seen one in the flesh. Kind of. Meet Elasmotherium. Although not a horse, it is related to modern-day rhinos that belong to the order known as the Perissodactyls, a group of odd-toed ungulates that includes rhinos, tapirs, and horses. So it's close enough to count, I think. Described in 1808 by this man, initially all that was known about the animal was the left lower jaw, which was gifted to the Moscow State University as part of a collection by this lady. Sorry, I'm not about to annoy Russian viewers by trying to pronounce that. Interestingly, this specimen's place of origin was unknown. Still, considering where the majority of the collection and subsequent Elasmotherium fossils were found, it was said to have originated in Siberia, which gave the specimen its species name, Sibiricum. Despite it originally being known from a single jaw, more fossils of this genus quickly revealed that it was quite unlike any rhinoceros that had been discovered. As more and more fossils were uncovered, we began to notice something peculiar about the animal's skull. It possessed a rather large bony dome. This dome is considered to be the base for a truly enormous horn. Whilst no actual horn has been found, due to the keratin that rhino horns are made out of not fossilizing well, this was based on the dimensions of said dome, which on average are 5 inches deep and 3 feet in circumference. Plus, deep grooves present along the dome were believed to have housed large blood vessels that supported the growth of the horn. All this points to Elasmotherium having a horn close to 10 feet in length. For reference, the largest horn ever recorded on a modern-day rhino was a 3.2 foot long horn that belonged to a white rhino. Along with its size, the placement of the horn is rather unique. Most rhinos have their horns positioned at the tip of their noses, which is also a feature shared with early members of the subfamily Elasmotherinae, which includes Elasmotherium. However, Elasmotherium instead has the horn positioned on its forehead. With this genus being the latest surviving member and no indication of a transition to this position, Elasmotherium was often seen as unique amongst its namesake subfamily. That was until the discovery of the genus Cynotherium. Discovered in the 1920s, this genus showed a transitional placement for its horn, sitting between the nose and the forehead. This showed paleontologists that this subfamily's horn slowly receded backwards over time. A fun fact about Cynotherium is that not only did it have this one huge horn, but it also possessed a similar bony dome behind it, which suggested it possessed not one, but 2 horns. So, with this massive horn situated directly in the center of its forehead and its somewhat close relationship with horses, it is pretty clear to see why Elasmotherium has often been described as being the inspiration for the unicorn myth, to the point the genus has even been dubbed the Siberian unicorn. But this look has come under fire in recent years. In 2021, a study was published that compared the anchoring point of Elasmotherium to that of other species of rhinos. In rhinos, the horn itself is not connected to any bone. Instead, it grows from a dense skin tissue that anchors itself to the bone by creating skin irregularities. Elasmotherium possessed skin irregularities on the dome, but they weren't as prominent as those seen in other extinct rhinos, such as the woolly rhino. Along with this, they also pointed out how the split between Elasmotherinae and all modern rhino species happened 30 to 40 million years ago, and the first appearance of keratin horns in the lineage leading to modern-day rhinos didn't happen until 16 to 20 million years ago. So they stated that it is more than likely that Elasmotherium differentiated in its ornamentation. So what was this massive dome used for? Well, the paper pointed out that this part of the skull in Elasmotherium is very fragile, so they suggested that instead of a horn, the animal may have possessed a keratin pad to protect this part of the skull. As for its huge size, it has been pointed out by several authors in the past that this thin-domed region of the animal's skull may have acted as a resonating chamber, similar to how hadrosaur dinosaurs used their crests. This was supported by the larger domes being found in specimens that are thought to represent males, with female and younger specimens having a much smaller dome. The paper went on to state how having these larger domes may have helped males attract females and better control territories with these amplified calls. So sadly, Elasmotherium no longer looks like a unicorn. However, as with anything in paleontology, several people go against this notion. But with no horn preserved, what evidence are these people using to say Elasmotherium had a horn? Well, whilst no physical horn has been preserved, the horn of Elasmotherium may have been preserved through a different medium: art. See, there are several cave paintings that are said to depict an animal that resembles Elasmotherium. One in particular from a cave in France shows an animal with one enormous horn on its forehead. This contrasts with other rhino paintings from the same cave, which are attributed to the woolly rhino based on the presence of two horns situated nearer the nose. Not only is this interesting because it may prove the existence of Elasmotherium's horn, but it may also show evidence that Elasmotherium survived much longer than was once thought. See, Elasmotherium is believed to be the oldest surviving member of the subfamily, going extinct around 30,000 years ago. These cave paintings are thought to be 12 to 50,000 years old. So if these represent Elasmotherium, then this would lend credence to the idea that they went extinct around this time. However, these paintings haven't been properly dated due to the lack of substantial artifacts within the cave. Still, based on the painting style, they're believed to be around 13,000 years old. So, whether this is proof that Elasmotherium did indeed have a horn or did have a keratin covering, I think that it's still cool how something as magical as a unicorn can possibly trace its history back to one of the most impressive animals the world has ever seen. And if you want to learn about other animals that may have influenced mythology, then click the video on the screen. Until next time, bye bye.